Hello everyone, really quick MIXAMO tutorial, speed running it. So I'm just using the scene where I set up some of those post-processing global volume lights and I made Thanos. On the side though, it's So you can see I've got a character over here in the scene. I want to bring in another character from MIXAMO. And I want to animate my character as well for the Endless Runner. So, first things first, I'm going to search MIXAMO and click it over here. And it will bring me into the program itself. So with MIXAMO, there's a bunch of different characters that you can download over here. And that keeps going. There's also this animations tab at the top, which if I click on it, will open up all of these different animations. And if you click on one of them, your character on the right viewport over here will automatically start performing that animation. I've got my resolution on low at the moment, so that's why it's a bit choppy. But you can search for whatever animation you like, including a spin, or a somersault, or a punch. Some of these are a little bit exaggerated, but that's fine. So I'm going to upload one of my own characters now to MIXAMO and give him an animation. So I'm going to click Upload Character, select a character file. Here's all of my different people from my Endless Runner. Just make sure that when you save them from 3ds Max or Blender, that you save your character as an FBX. It's very important for MIXAMO. So I'm going to select this Crush Room character, and it's going to show me a preview of my character. Yep. So make sure that your character is facing the camera. So I'm going to click on this arrow over here, and that'll make him face straight. There we go.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
You can also rotate him if you want to get a better view. Now that he's facing forward, I can plot the most important points for a skeleton to be automatically put in. Because MIXAMO automatically gives your 3D characters a skeleton. So I've just put the chin on, and now I'm putting the wrists, the elbows, the knees. I try to cover as much sort of skin and surface area as I can with these points. And then I'll plot the groin over there. And there's that zoom in window that comes up as well if you just want a bit of extra assistance there. So I'm going to click Next. So currently, MIXAMO is automatically rigging the character. That means, using the points that we plotted, MIXAMO is automatically giving your character a skeleton. And you can use that skeleton to give your character different animations. So you can have them punch or kick or anything that's previewed down here. MIXAMO is usually best with characters that have 2 arms and 2 legs. If you've got a character with 6 arms, or you have an animal with 4 legs, it'll be a bit trickier for you. So here, my character's been plotted in. I think this is fine. If you feel like you want to go back and make those points a bit more accurate, you just click the back button. I'm going to click Next. Yes, I want them to be broadened. And the character will appear over here now. Oh, goodness. Alright, I'm going to move to a zombie run animation. So, I'm going to pick, these are all pretty equal, so I'm going to go with the second one over here. You can see my character's running off screen. This isn't the case with all the animations on MIXAMO. Usually they stay in place. But to keep this character in place during this animation, I'm going to click on the checkbox here for in place. So now he runs on the spot.
I can't move it anymore.
Alrighty, so I've got my character over there. If you want, you can go get yourself an attack animation, a jump animation, a dodge animation, whatever you fancy. The only drawback with MIXAMO is that you have to individually download each animation one at a time. You can't download multiple at once. So, I'm going to take this run in my character, and I'm going to click on Download. I'm going to save it as an FBX for Unity specifically. And then the skin filter over here is basically if you want your textures and materials of your character to be sent through as well. But I'm going to click Yes. And then I'm just going to click Download. And you'll see it'll pop up on the bottom left. And there it is. So now I'm going to go back into Unity and let's import this new character. So assets, import new asset. There he is. Man, the myth, the legend. So he's over here right now. If I drag him into the scene, oh no, he's standing still and he's missing his color. That's interesting. So let's fix that. Oh, sorry, Thanos. So I'm going to click on my character over here in my bottom. I'm going to go to the model tab, scroll all the way down, and this is optional, but I like doing this. Generate light map UVs and click apply. Then I'm going to go to rig, and this is just calibrating the MIXAMO skeleton into Unity. So this is just helping Unity to understand what MIXAMO is doing with this automatically made skeleton. So I'm going to change it from generic to humanoid, and I'm going to click apply. So now MIXAMO knows that this is a human. So I'm going to click configure, this new button that pops up, and there you can see MIXAMO's skeleton, and this is Unity trying to interpret the skeleton. So it looks pretty good. I'm going to swap over to the muscles over here, and if it works, your character will do this weird sort of crouch. So it looks pretty good. I don't see any deformation. So I will click on done over here. So that's our rig tab sorted. So next we'll move to animation. So with the animation tab, you can select on this loop if you want the animation to constantly loop over and over again. Or you can unselect that and the animation will just play once. So if your character is running, it's probably best to have loop on, because you don't want your character to run for 10 seconds and then they just stop and T-pose very menacingly. However, if your character's attacking, like if he's throwing a punch, then you'd probably want it to just be a single punch. So I'd have loop off. But because this is the run for my guy, I'm going to keep loop on. These next few things are completely up to your preference. I prefer going with original and bake into pose. The reason I do this is because sometimes the animation you get from MIXAMO can move your character in-game. It's like a microscopic amount, but you could have a running animation, and the animation itself slowly moves your character a little bit more to the left. So you start on your track, and as the game goes on, because the animation keeps playing, your character will slowly move more and more to the side until they vanish into the background somewhere.
Where is he going?
So I found that having these settings usually prevents that. So I click bake into pose, and I click original for these three. And then just apply. We're on the home stretch now. We've got the last tab, which is the materials tab. So you can see my character is still sort of blank. Now this is where we get our color back. So I'm going to click on extract textures. And this is just Unity saying, hey bruv, where do you want to save these to? So I'm going to go and choose my materials folder. I'm going to say select that folder. So it's going to save the textures in there. You'll see if I go into my materials folder, there he is, over there. But I'm going to go and save his, I'm going to extract his materials as well. So I'll just click here and put those in the materials folder. Bam. So now you can see he's in color down here, which is wonderful. And I've got both his texture and his material chucked in over here. Yeah. So I can change these as well inside of Unity itself. So I can make this glowy by selecting, there you can see, I can glow him up. I can change the base color, make him transparent, yada yada yada. If you want to open up all the different things in your character, you just click on this arrow. MIXAMO usually sends the character model, the information, the skeleton, the animation, and the name as like a few separate attachments, and they're all grouped under this. So I'm going to move our character into the scene. Over here, sort of in front of Thanos. Maybe a bit to the side, and I'll just rotate him so that we get a better picture. So here's the character. The materials seem to be working pretty well. Just to give you an idea of how you can change them, I'm going to click emission here. Let's make him glow red, and I'll up the intensity. There we go. Very menacing. He's going Super Saiyan. So I've got the character here. But what about that animation? Well, let me just drag into his own folder. So that is our character's animation. MIXAMO saves it as this like little triangle thing that comes with your guy. So you can see that it's called Zombie Run Animation Clip. We want to put this on our character over here, because you see if we hit play, he kind of just sits there awkwardly. His brother's busy running, but he sits there awkwardly himself. So let's give him some animations. I'm going to click on the character over here in my inspector. This one is the, here we go, here's the orange guy, that's the blue guy. I'm just going to click on our orange dude, and you'll see he's got this animator component. So this is the component that allows you to do all of your different animations. So you can swap between punching, kicking, running, jumping, etc. He needs a controller to control swapping between all of those different animations. I'm going to right click, create an animator controller, and I'm going to call it orange enemy, something like that. And I'm just going to select him and drag this in here. And there we go. We now have an animation controller on our character, which means that if you double click on it, you can see the animator window. And this can get quite comprehensive in Unity. Very comprehensive. If I go over to, here we go. You can really stack this thing up. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. So try and keep it as clean as possible. Here currently we've just got these three different thingy-watsits. We've got entry, exit, and any state. But we don't have any animations. So let's bring this zombie run into here. Okay, so I'm just going to open up my character that I've imported. I'm going to click on the triangle animation over here. You can see the name up there, Zombie Run. And here is the zombie. I'm just going to drag this animation into it. And if I go back into my animator, you will see there it is. So entry is where your character starts animating. So you'll go from here to whatever's the first animation. And exit is when your character finishes. Any state is just where you would take animations that come from any possible state or any possible animation. So your character could be running, your character could be like crouch walking, or it could be rolling, and you want to equip a gun. So in order to equip that gun, you would have like a firearm drawing animation where you take it out of your holster, you take the pistol out your holster. But you want that to be done if your character's crouching, running, jumping, rolling, or walking. So that would be an animation that would happen from any state. But for now, I'm not overcomplicating it. I'm just going, when the game begins, the entry, I'm going to play this animation over here. So if I hit play now, you will see the zombie starts running. And there's the other one running as well. So here he is, glowing still, and running forward. But now what if I want to bring in another animation? Well, unfortunately, there's no quicker way to do it. You have to go back into MIXAMO, manually search up another animation. I already know what I want, so I'm going to select this zombie attack, and I'll go for this one, I think. It's a pretty mean swipe.
What's going on here? Oh, sir, I'm arrested.
So I'm going to download again. FBX for Unity, and this one is optional, whether you want to go with skin or without skin. I'm just going to go with skin anyways. And there we go. So now, let me just pause here. I'm going to hop back into Unity, Assets, Import New Asset. Go into my Downloads. And here's the new guy, the zombie punching. So, how do we get this animation in? Well, we take the animation, and we click drag it, just like that. So now, if I go into my animator, you'll see there's the other animation. It's gray because usually the first animation is highlighted orange. It's also known as the default animation. If we want to make this the animation that starts at the beginning of the game, we just right click on it and we say set as default layer. So now that's orange. If we want to go back, we can do that, this, that, this. So now, if I hit play, the zombie will be punching. Oh no, he's not. He's stuck in this sort of cradle pose. And the reason is because we haven't let Unity configure MIXAMO's skeleton. So we need to do that again. And unfortunately, this is a bit of a schlep, but it's got to be done. So, as per usual, we click on this character, we go Model, Generate Light Map UVs, same steps as before, Rig, Humanoid, Apply, Configure, Muscles and Settings, Done, Animation. And because this is an attack, I'm not going to have loop on. I want him to attack once, not over and over again. So I'm just going to click Baked into Pose and set these to original because those are my preferences. And I'll hit Apply. And we don't have to do anything with the materials for this one because we're not going to drag in this character. We've already got one in Unity. All I want is this animation. Okay, so now that he's all configured, I'm going to drag the configured animation in. And bam, we have another gray block. So I'm going to delete the old unconfigured animation. I'm going to bring the new configured animation in here. So it doesn't really matter what position you put it in. I'm just going to leave it here for preference. I'm going to right click, set as the default, just so that I can see if it works when I start up Unity. And there we go. He attacks once because we did not have loop selected. We didn't have loop ticked. So I want him to go from a punch to a run. So as you probably saw in those pictures earlier, there are these arrows in Unity that point to other animations. So in order to get an arrow, which is also known as a transition, I'm going to right click, make transition, and select another animation. Bam, we've got our arrow. But I want him to go back into punching once he runs for a bit. So I can right click, make another transition, and go back into punching. So now if I hit play, but I have maximize off just so that you guys can see my controller down here. So there you'll see, he does his punch, and then he does his run, and he does his punch, and he does his run, and he does his punch, and so on. But how come he stops running even though we had run on loop? Well, the reason is these arrows have properties as well. These transitions have properties as well, as you can see when I click on them. There's a few over here, one of them being exit time. So exit time will automatically stop the animation after a bit. So if I go on this return arrow and I remove exit time, he will run, well, he'll attack, my apologies, and then he'll run, and he'll keep running because it's a loop and there's no exit time. So that's all good, but what if you want your character to only do an animation under a certain condition? Like if the player is close enough, then your character does an attack animation. Well, that's where these conditions come in. If I click on the plus on this arrow, you'll see it says parameter doesn't exist. And over here, we've got layers and parameters. So I've selected parameter, there's this plus button. We can have a whole bunch of different conditions, like a trigger, a bool, and int and a float. I prefer bools. And I'll say, let's see, we only want our enemy to do an attack if the player is in range. So I've got my player is in range bool. Now I'll click on my arrow. Let me just reconfigure this. So I want him to run and only attack if the player is in range. So let's make an arrow go there. And this will only happen if player is in range. And it's true. So if I hit play, the enemy will keep running unless I click this checkbox over here to set it true. So there we go. So how do we do that with code? Let me just allow him to go back here. In order to make your character move with code, we're going to have to give him a script first. So I'll just create a script in here, and I'll call it enemy attack, So bam, I've just created a new script in Unity called enemy attack, and when I double click on it, it brings me here. So the first thing we need, in order to control animations with code, is we need to get a reference to the animator. So let's say public animator with a capital A, and then you can call it whatever you want. So I'm just going to call this animator controller. Usually I call it animator controller or enemy controller or orange enemy controller. You get the gist. So here we've got our reference. Next, we want to make the enemy do this animation. So I'll have an if statement, if, let's say input.getKey. So I'm going to do it on a key press, right? Just for now. So if the key pressed is spacebar, like that. You could also set it to C or A, whatever you want. I'm just going to say space. So if I press space, I want my enemy to stop running and to attack, and then to go back to running again. So let's do that. If space is pressed, the animator dot set the bool of the animator. If you hover over it, you'll see there's two fields that it needs. It needs a name and a value. So which boolean do we want to change again? Let's see. If I click on the arrow, player is in range. Okay. And it is case sensitive, so be very careful with typing it out. Player is in range. So this is the bool that I want to change. And I'm going to put a comma in these brackets, and I want to set it to true. There we go. Because this arrow will only activate if it's true. And Unity is just loading. There. Only if player is in range is true.
True, and yeah, that's pretty true. That's true, and yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's pretty true. That's pretty true.
So I'll set this to true. And then I'll do a little coroutine afterwards. I'll call it finish attacking. And this coroutine, all it's going to do is it's going to make the enemy, after he's done attacking, go back to running again. So yield, let's make him wait for 2 seconds. So yield return new, wait for seconds 2. And after 2 seconds, we're going to set that bool to false. And there we go. That's animation. So in your endless runner, you'll change it depending on whatever you want. So you could have it only if the player is close enough to the enemy. So you might do a distance calculation, or you might have a box collider trigger, and only if the player goes in that, then this bool will change. But just for demo, I'm doing it when I click the spacebar. Just for testing. So if I click on the enemy over here, let's drag the script. And he needs the animation thing, so I will click and drag. It's literally right above. Just slot that there. And now if I hit play, there he's running. So let's maximize this quickly. So now, if I hit spacebar, he attacks. And this other character on the side, I set him up earlier when I was testing this tutorial. So they both move with spacebar. But I can see here, this guy has gone back to running infinitely. So okay, so I've worked out what the issue was that caused this enemy to only attack the first time I clicked spacebar, but this one kept going. And the reason is because if I go on this arrow over here, you'll see this one doesn't have exit time. This one does. But on my orange guy, this one does, and this one does. So I'm going to remove exit time from our infinite run. So this way it won't automatically just stop running. It's going to keep looping unless I press spacebar. So now they'll both attack, and he'll go back to his running, and then they'll both attack again. And the full attack animation gets played as well, because in our script I said wait for 2 seconds. Now usually when you have your animation transitions, right, let's say here we've got, here's the zombie. And here is a poor unsuspecting victim. And the zombie is going to animate itself attacking the guy. So it's going to go from here to here, which is the end of the attack animation. If you don't have enough time in this wait, so let's say I only put half a second, what will happen is that boolean is going to be set to false before the animation finishes playing. So he'll only get here with the attack, and then suddenly he'll snap back to running again. So he'll move off to flippin' randomly running in front of his opponent, which admittedly is very intimidating. So when putting timers and core routines in, make sure that the time that you set in the wait is long enough for the full animation to play. And that's basically our MIXAMO crash course. If you want more animations, you just go to MIXAMO and you individually download more. You click on the, you configure your character first, then you drag that triangle into your animator, and you can always right click, make more transitions everywhere, or you can make new parameters. Best of luck with your projects.